Good Omens is the story of an angel and a demon who are both trying to do their jobs that are part of the great plan. Although Aziraphale and Crowley are adversaries by nature and profession, their relationship develops into a friendship merely because of the time spent together over thousands of years. In this unlikely pairing, compromises are made between the two of them so that they can both appear to be accomplishing their missions without overcoming the other too much. When the birth of the Antichrist occurs, they agree to work together and try to see if their influences on the child have any effect. By the time they locate the correct child, it is almost too late as Armageddon is about to begin. Events unfold and the world is saved. At the end, Aziraphale and Crowley wonder if their involvement had any effect. The angel Aziraphale and the serpent Crowley are talking about the emergence of evil in Eden. For the first time it is about to rain. The earth is just newly created. Crowley thinks that the impending thunderstorm is an overreaction to knowing the difference between good and evil. Aziraphale admits that he gave his flaming sword to Adam and Eve. He tells them they will probably need it. Subsequently, Aziraphale debates whether or not he has done the right thing by interfering. Crowley speeds through the night in his Bentley, on his way to meet with Hastur and Lagur. When they meet, they recount the deeds of the day to each other. This is done as a way of securing souls for their master, Satan. Hastur passes a basket to Crowley, who dreads its meaning. Hastur and Lagur remind Crowley that this is what they have waited centuries for. For the instructions, he goes to a hospital. The hospital is run by nuns. There, Crowley meets Mr. Young, an expectant father. After making his way past, he runs into Sister Mary and is about to perform a baby switch. As Sister Mary chats with Mr. Young, she does not realize the orderly's error when the wrong baby is taken and the Youngs are left with the adversary. Sister Mary helps Mr. Young choose a name for the baby and the name he likes is Adam. Some days later, when they leave the hospital, Hastur strikes the building with a bolt of lightning that creates a fire that burns long into the night. Aziraphale and Crowley's relationship is laid out. Although they have been adversaries for over 6 millennia, they have grown accustomed to one another. They have almost become friends, and have lived their existences without imposing too much upon one another. If Crowley needed to do evil in Shropshire, Aziraphale was left to do good in Manchester. This arrangement allowed them to coexist and have small victories to speak of with their respective masters without ever doing too much harm to the other. As they are feeding the ducks, they talk about Armageddon and debate which side will win. They poke fun at each other for which side was responsible for creating what, and then decide to go for lunch. During lunch, they proceed to get very drunk, and it comes out that neither one of them wants to see the destruction of the planet. Crowley suggests that they intervene and prevent Armageddon from occurring. Aziraphale objects, but Crowley reminds him that intervening might also be part of the divine plan. If Crowley's job is to make the end of times happen, then it is Aziraphale's job to thwart the efforts. They agree to play a hand in the devil child's upbringing so that it is free of satanic influences, which can eradicate the threat of Armageddon happening. The 4 horsemen of the apocalypse enter the picture. Scarlet is a red-haired vixen who represents war and currently is spending time in an African village. Sable, who represents famine, is a best-selling author of a diet book that literally has people starve themselves to death. Mr. White represents pollution, and forces a tanker holding crude oil to dump its contents into the sea, causing destruction to the waters and the wildlife. Death is only alluded to as someone who is watching and waiting. Meanwhile, Crowley and Aziraphale do what they must to have a hand in Warlock's upbringing. They both use their influences to win the child over, but after 10 years of intervention, they worry that the boy is too normal. Aziraphale and Crowley eagerly await the Hellhound's arrival at Warlock's 11th birthday party. 3 o'clock comes and goes, and still no dog appears. When they realize something is wrong, they take off. They both immediately know that they had the wrong child all those years. Meanwhile, the right child, Adam, is convinced that he is getting a dog for his birthday because he just knows it. As the Hellhound gets closer and hears the sound of his master's voice, it waits for Adam to name it, as this is an important event for the animal. The name defines what kind of dog it will be. Adam names the dog he is going to get, Dog. When the hound hears the name, he transforms himself into the kind of dog that the name Dog suggests. Aziraphale and Crowley now try to rack their brains to come up with a new plan. Since they know they had the wrong child, they need to find the right one. They decide to go back to the hospital where the babies were switched 11 years ago. On their way there, they hit a girl on a bicycle, named Anathema. As they miraculously heal her and fix the bicycle, they offer her a lift home, and ask about the location of the hospital. She does not know about any hospital, but she directs them to Tadfield Manor. When Aziraphale and Crowley show up at Tadfield Manor, they realize that things have changed. They step out of the Bentley and are shot with paint pellets. Feeling sneaky, Crowley changes the guns the men are using from paint guns to real weapons. As the panic ensues, the police arrive. They encounter Mary Hodges and ask about the baby switch that occurred 11 years prior. They put her into a trance, but she does not give them the information they need. They hightail it out of the manor as the police and several ambulances arrive on the scene. As the angel and demon continue on into the night, they debate over what their next step should be in finding the right child. Aziraphale suggests that they use a human to locate the boy. When Crowley drops Aziraphale back at his bookshop, they realize that Anathema left her book behind. Knowing that he has stumbled onto something big, Aziraphale takes the book and Crowley leaves. Adam and his friends Pepper, Bryant, and Wensleydale, agree to play at having a new Spanish Inquisition. They do this as a method of putting witches on trial. They convince Pepper's little sister to play along as the witch on trial. As a result of the game, Adam gets punished for what happens to Pepper's sister's shoes and dress. He is relegated to spend time by himself, thereby encountering Anathema, his next-door neighbor. She tells him that she lost her book and that two men in a black car took it by accident. Raven Sable meets with the head of his marketing group as they are rolling out the latest product, meals. While he is in the Burger Lord, throwing out the food that he just ordered, he receives a package. It is a small pair of brass scales. When he sees it, he knows instantly what it means. He leaves and gets back into his limousine. The them hang out in the quarry. Adam tells his friends about what he read in New Aquarians. He tells them about UFO sightings and the men that drive around in black cars telling people off and trying to keep their mouths shut. Then he recounts the history of Atlantis, which holds their interest. Newton Pulsifer calls Shadwell to inquire about the ad he placed in the paper about becoming a witchfinder. Newt's first job was to find newspaper articles on witches and unexplainable phenomena. As he goes through the papers, he notices that strange events are happening around nuclear power stations and that there are reports that Atlantis has risen. Newt remarks about the weather in Tadfield and says he wants to take a trip there to investigate it. A delivery man delivers a parcel to a man in white in the middle of a street. The man in white, Chalky, accepts the package and sees that it is a circlet of white metal, set with diamonds. As he puts it on, it turns black, and the area around him becomes thick with pollution. The delivery man is about to deliver his next and last parcel and is killed in the process. It is merely a message for a presence that says, "Come and see." Newt is preparing to leave for Tadfield, and Shadwell is giving him the tools he needs. After he is on the road for a while, he pulls over and throws some of the items out the window, deciding that he will not need them. Agnes Nutter is considered to be the Witchfinder Army's great failure. In her book, The Nice and Accurate Prophecies of Agnes Nutter, she predicts her own death where she is burned at the stake. As she is burning, she lays a curse on those that meddle in such witch affairs that they do not understand. When the crowd gets closer, everything around her explodes. Newt continues driving and has an encounter with a UFO that has landed in the street. The aliens ask him questions about Earth, and he carries on. Looking back, he sees that the UFO is gone. After that, he has an accident which Adam and them hear and they go to Anathema for help. When Newt shows up, Anathema explains that she was expecting him. She goes on to explain Agnes Nutter's prophecies and how they have all come true, and how it was predicted that Newt would end up at her home. Adam starts having a strange reaction. He knows something weird is going on in his head but he cannot explain it. He starts speaking about odd things and events and even his friends have a hard time understanding what he means. Adam talks about what the world he grows up in should be like. He suggests that the world needs to start over because everything has become too much a mess. Adam goes on about the new world he will create. He and his friends will each be able to rule a part of it as they want. They can put all the things they want in it and take out all of the things they don't want. As Adam recounts all of the changes he will make, strange things begin to happen all around the world. Rainforests begin to grow and all of the whales disappear. After debating with himself, Aziraphale decides to contact the Metatron and tell them that he knows the location of the Antichrist. He is anxious for them to know so that evil will be thwarted. He is told that good will prevail. They do not need this information. The Metatron agrees to give him time to tie up his business ends and he calls Crowley, who is not available. At the same time, Shadwell comes upon Aziraphale and commands him to vanish. As Aziraphale steps back into the circle for the Metatron, he disappears instantly. The four horsemen congregate at a roadside cafe and have a run-in with the local bikers there. Both Aziraphale and Crowley seek alternate means to stay on Earth and do what they need in order to prevent Armageddon from occurring. Aziraphale emerges in the form of a television evangelical preacher and then possesses Madame Tracy. Crowley does everything in his power to elude the evil forces attempting to gather him back into hell. Shadwell is still in Madame Tracy's bedroom, dreaming about Agnes Nutter's death at the stake. He wakes up and hears Madame Tracy's voice, then that of another. When he enters the room, he realizes that there is something else possessing her body. Aziraphale is speaking through Madame Tracy. She explains to Shadwell that Armageddon is upon them and they need to stop it from happening. They hop on a moped and head toward Tadfield. At the same time, the four horsemen, bikers of the apocalypse, are doing the same, as is Crowley in his now demolished black Bentley, and Newt and Anathema. Newt and Anathema are the first to arrive at the Tadfield Air Base. Adam and them are pedaling their way on their bikes. The four horsemen, bikers of the apocalypse, are also racing to get there. On the way, the bikers get lost and run into R.P. Tyler, a member of the Lower Tadfield Residences Association. He gives them directions and they once again take off. Shortly after, Madame Tracy and Shadwell approach R.P. Tyler, looking for Adam. R.P. Tyler tells them where Adam was headed and they follow after the bikers. The guard at the airbase is receiving visits from various individuals. In order to gain admittance, the four horsemen, bikers of the apocalypse, appear as generals conducting a surprise inspection. Then Shadwell and Madame Tracy appear, trying to get in right as Crowley arrives. Crowley raises the gate and them zip in right before them. They know that they are supposed to meet others there, they do not know who. Even Adam suggests that they could be anybody. When the soldiers at the base appear and try to find out why the kids are there, Adam puts them to sleep. The four bikers await the arrival of the Antichrist and know that he is close by. As they get closer to Adam, famine, war, and pollution begin to resemble humans less and less. Death, who turns into a skeleton, is the only one that closely resembles anything human. They approach Adam and tell him, "It is done." Adam then announces that he does not wish any of it to be done and so therefore it will not be done. He explains that he has only recently discovered some interesting things and he wants the time to uncover the rest of it. He is a curious boy and if things end now, he will never know. Thus, he tells them to go away. Not willing to simply turn and go, Adam tells them to go after the four bikers. Pepper takes her toy sword up against War, who disappears when their swords connect. Wensleydale used his makeshift scales and swings them against Famine, who also goes down, then disappears. Pollution tries to make a run for it, but Brian goes after him with grass stalks, which are hurled like a discus. Death, who cannot be destroyed, admits that Armageddon can no longer commence with the other three bikers now gone. He indicates though that they are not gone for good, as they are in the backs of men's minds forever. Adam comes face to face with everyone at the airbase. The Metatron and Beelzebub both appear and are eager for Armageddon to begin. Although they insist that Armageddon begin immediately, Adam chooses to thwart their efforts. It fails to make sense to him that the world needs to be burned up in order to start over. He sees good and evil being a cycle and knows that beings such as Aziraphale and Crowley will always be around and interfering with people. The Metatron and Beelzebub are confused and do not know if this is part of the great plan or not. Adam sends them on their way without Armageddon ever occurring. The next morning, Newt receives a visitor at Jasmine Cottage. It is a man delivering a parcel postmarked from the 1700s. It is from Agnes Nutter as part of her prophecies. Anathema wakes up to see the package in the kitchen and is desperate to open it, but Newt stops her. Everything in the world appears to be going back to the way it was, and no one seems able to remember the exact events of the previous day. Aziraphale and Crowley wonder amongst themselves what it all means and if it was truly planned to happen as it did. Adam is the only one who recalls what has happened, but when his friends ask, he tells them it was nothing and sends them on their way.